Hello. My name is Jordan, and I'm your host. And today, as you can see, unless you listen to this audibly, we have a special guest. This is my brother.
Hello.
If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, you can.
So I'm her brother. My name's TJ. I'm a little shy. I'm a little nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I don't know.
Okay. Tell me more about yourself.
I am 22, about to be 23. My experience on this topic, I was in the military, Air Force to be exact. Served in freaking Montana. It was my duty station. 2MOX3 is the job code. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Florida. Again, her older brother.
If you did not know, yeah, I'm from Florida. So yeah, born in Georgia, but you know, we rep Florida all the way, represent.
Well, she was born right there.
I was born in Georgia, but you know, I still represent Florida all day, all day, every day.
Facts.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about situational anxiety that you may experience while you're in the military, or more likely outside of the military as you are a veteran. And that also touches on PTSD. And then we'll also be touching on the hierarchy system within the military and the sort of abuse of power that comes within that. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about alcoholism and nicotine use within the military, because that is a big issue, as TJ sort of explained to me before while scripting this episode. So, yeah. So, of course, as you know, we're going to get started with our Rose, Thorn, Bud, but if you new listeners do not know, our Rose is a highlight, success, small win, or something positive that happened today or within the last week. A thorn is a challenge you experience or something you could use more support with. And lastly, a bud are some new ideas that have blossomed or something positive or something that you're looking forward to knowing more about or experiencing. So, TJ, if you want to go ahead and get started, just tell us about your rose and thorn and bud.
Okay, a highlight, success, small, or something positive that happened today or the last week. Okay, Rose, what happened within the last week? I got paid Friday, so that's always a rose. Always. Let's see. I built that TV stand I just bought. Wasn't too much building to do, but I did it. Put that together. That's a little success for sure.
You can just go ahead and do a thorn if you don't want
All right, a thorn. What is that? A challenge you experience, something you can use more support with. So I started recording music, so I need to really figure out how to use the software, because that's been a challenge for sure.
Feel it.
And then, but new ideas that have blossomed or something that you're looking forward to knowing more about or experience. Again, that music. I'm definitely excited to embark on that journey. Sorry.
Awesome. So for me, a rose would probably be the fact that I am going to work again, because I was not scheduled last week, and that made me super mad. So we're not even going to go into depth about that, because I can rant about that all day. But a thorn would probably be writing a new book. It is definitely some hard work. I'm not even going to lie. It's been good because it's kind of like more of a memoir, so it's like kind of like a stream of consciousness. It's not like a story, but getting those words out sometimes are just like, you can get stuck a lot and then just be like, I'm gonna throw this computer out the window.
Facts.
And then a bud would probably be my trip to New York, May 14th to the 17th. So I'm super excited about that. It's for my second job, and yeah, I'm going to be all decked out on a red carpet. I'll tell you all about that later when it actually happens. But making the moves, happen it, make it happen.
Oh God.
All right. So first of all, we're going to talk about situational anxiety. So, of course, I don't have a lot of experience with this. So, TJ, if you want to go ahead and get started, you can.
Man. All right, so let's start. Let's start with the beginning. Matter of fact, let's bang on the door. So, boom. Basic training. We're going to start there. anybody that knows anything about the military or basic training, this is where all your anxiety comes from. This is where they about to mold you into a robot and make you do certain things that you aren't accustomed to, and then once you get accustomed to it, you can never break this chain. Again, one is banging on the door. So, for example, when they come in the morning, right, they would come to the door and, like, when I say bang on it, like I can't get up and bang on it, but bang on it very hard to where you jump up out your sleep, you gotta get ready, get but they're yelling the whole time, right? Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, nowadays, a chain that can't be broken when somebody's banging on the door or somebody wakes me up too abruptly is like the most anxious feeling like anybody can have, like your heart racing, palms sweaty, but that is another one. And then another one is see a flag. So whenever, like, car dealership, I know, like, that's probably the main place you'll see a big behind flag. Every time I see it, I have to salute to it or feel like I have to, like, yeah, almost there, but no, I don't. Another one, waking up the alarm. That's kind of like the same thing as banging on the door. If something just abruptly wakes you out your sleep, which they tend to do the whole time you're there, that's something that's going to cause, like, major anxiety, like major anxiety. And then in crowded areas, that's like, I'll probably say number one on the list for real. Being in a spot where you just have to be attentive at all times. You don't know what's going to happen. Like, they always teach you to be aware of your surroundings, so you got to have situational awareness. So that's another thing that's going to cause stupid anxiety, like stupid anxiety. Really though.
Can you go more into depth about the crowded areas and, like, what sort of reminds you of crowded areas?
So, like, for example, when we have to go into formation, let me really see how I can break this down. So on this note, the side story, like, whenever, the way they taught us to be around, like, aware of your situation around is, like, anybody could be looking. Like, say if you're out having a good time with your family, you're not even thinking about any danger, you're having the best time of your life. Somebody, literally a terrorist or whatever, somebody looking to cause terror on you can literally pick you off from any point, location with a sniper rifle if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, that causes so much, like, just anxiety, because you have to always be aware of whether you're having a good time or not. Like, I could be at the fair, like, having a good time, but I have to always remember that anything can go wrong at any time. So that's kind of like, I guess, a little elaboration on crowded areas, and just being in them, it's just no good. I don't like being in that situation. Formation is another reason why, like, being told to line up with a whole bunch of group of people and can get chewed out or put on your face or disciplined if one person goes out of line. It kind of messes up that whole crowded area scene.
Right. And would you say that there's just, like, does it interfere with your daily life a lot?
Yeah, for sure. Because, like, a crowded place, for example, Walmart can be so simple to go in out, but for certain people that has this situational anxiety or just anxiety in general, like, Walmart can be a whole task. Like, you see cars parked outside, all the cars parked outside, you don't even want to go inside. Like, There's just daily stuff like that, or job setting, like, that's just too much. You can't be around too many people in that situation. I don't know, just, it happens daily, but it's also like a subconscious thing. Like, I'm gonna not go here already. Like, I already know I'm not going there because it's just too crowded. I already know it's gonna be too many people.
Right. And do you think there's certain ways you can, like, cope with it, certain ways you can try and get over with it, or do you think it's going to be instilled within you for, like, the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think that's with me for forever. Just because, again, like, you just have to know anything can happen at any time. Like, anything, like, at any time, like, whether it's now or when you're older. Like, some people might want to take advantage of you when you're older, so they think when you're in the crowded area, you can just slip by you, pick your pocket or whatever. Like, anything. It doesn't have to be extreme death. Like, you don't have to die, but anything can happen to you at any time. So you just gotta be aware of that, and I think I'm gonna have that with me for, like, forever.
I feel that. Well, I don't even feel that because, I haven't been in the military, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because it applies, like I said, just a job setting. Like, some people don't like just going to work or Walmart or whatever just because anxiety can happen any kind of way.
Right. And I'm sure it's like, I feel like it's a very scary thing at times, even though, of course, I haven't dealt with it.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing that anybody could pick you off at any time, it's like you're paranoid and you start getting in that mindset, and it's like, it can be very scary, I can assume.
Yeah, no, facts. Literally, like, the scariest, because that's your life. Like, with like this, like, you're done. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes they don't even catch who did it. So now it's like,
right, it
was a pointless death, and now nobody has justice on either side. So.
Right. And I guess I can definitely get into more of the PTSD impact that people may have. Especially the Army and the Marines can definitely cause more of a PTSD impact, and you really never know. When you look at somebody, you never know what they're dealing with inside. Right. You never know like how they're coping with a situation, how their mindset on a situation. So when you see somebody and they are affected in a different type of way, you can't just dismiss that and be like, what? It's just
right.
It's just the alarm ringing, or it's just a banging on the door. Like, what's wrong with you? You can't just look at somebody and say and dismiss it. It's kind of like you can't cry over spilled milk, but you never know. Like,
my last drop of milk.
Exactly.
That was my last drop. So,
exactly. So really, we don't want to go too into depth about PTSD because TJ doesn't have it, to my knowledge.
I do not.
But yeah, you again, just be mindful. You never know what people are going through, and especially with PTSD, it can be such a traumatic thing, as the title suggests. And if you don't know what PTSD is, it's post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'm pretty sure you've heard of it. But you should definitely do your research about it,
right?
Because we're not going to talk too into depth about this. But yeah, that being said, we can go on to topic 2, which is just the hierarchy within the military, and the sort of abuse of power within it. So if you want to go over the general gist of how the hierarchy is and what people are expecting from their leaders or anything like that, you can go ahead.
Yes, okay. So again, hierarchy system. So we have ranks, obviously, in the military. So starting at E1 all the way up till give me a number. I want to say 8, but I'm fact check myself right quick. But other than that, then you have your officers from 01 to 08. But with that being said, the E1 through E4, that's like your regular people. You're just getting in. You're still learning the system. You don't really know too much about what's going on yet. And then you get to E4. That's like you're still at the bottom, but they call it the E4 Mafia. So now you have like just a little tiny bit more responsibility, maybe like the tiniest of bits.
Why is it called the E4 Mafia?
So E4 Mafia, and for Air Force, that would be your senior airman. So now you're a senior airman, and you're about to be a staff sergeant. Mm-hmm. So this is where, like, again, like I said, you get that responsibility a little bit, but if you do get the chance of being promoted to this E5, the staff sergeant, then now, like, you're really in the game. So E4 Mafia is kind of just like a group in the bottom barrel that says that they're better than the bottom barrel, but they're still in the bottom barrel. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, yeah. You're still a loser.
Kind of like seniors, like in high school.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. They're seniors. That's a great analogy for real. Cause that's exactly what they are. So E4 Mafia is just seniors. They've been doing it for a little longer than everybody else. 4 years, literally, almost, to be exact. So that's just that. But then, like I said, that's the bottom of the barrel. Then you go to E5, staff sergeant, tech sergeant, master sergeants, and them, they're like, first of all, a lot of people, and from my experience, they don't get to really staff sergeant or tech sergeant. Like, they're stuck in the E1 through E4 mostly, or you're just gonna get kicked out of the military if you're not promoting, because you're not doing what you're doing with your life. Mm-hmm. But get staff sergeant, tech sergeant, master sergeant. That takes a lot of work, a lot of years, dedication, a lot. So then the other route would be if you're not enlisted and you commission, you go into college, you become an officer. Now you're 01 through 08, so you have your lieutenants all the way up to your captains, 4-star generals, all that type of stuff. Excuse me. So that's just the hierarchy system. Now, sad to say, like I already mentioned, E1 through E4, that's bottom of the barrel. You're nothing. E5, I wish I knew what is it? I gotta look it up. E5 through E9. Like I said, there's staff sergeant, tech sergeant, master sergeant, senior master sergeant, chief master sergeant, whatever. That's where you obviously have the more responsibility. You're looking over your shop, your wherever you're working at, or your little squadron, your battalion, whatever you want to call it. That's where now you're making decisions. You're getting word from the higher ups, officers. You're running it down, spreading your information throughout your team. Now, then from there, you go to the officers. So this is where like it gets tricky, because a lot of the E5 through E9s, they like I said, they have the responsibility. They've been in the military for a long time, maybe 14, 16 years, like a long time. Officers, however, they can be in the military for 1 year and be higher ranking than somebody that's been in the military for 14, 16 years. So that hierarchy comes kind of rubs against each other, because an officer may feel like they can tell you something because of their rank. However, they haven't been in the military as long as everybody else. So that kind of causes a little friction, a little problem between that leadership, and then that trickles down to if you're in a shop that maintainers, speaking on my experience, if you're in a maintenance shop, officers they don't hold as much weight as your master sergeant, your tech sergeant, because they're new to everything. They don't really know what's going on, especially maintenance. They don't even know how to use a tool. They're more by the book. You know what I'm saying? They don't really have hands-on experience. And that's kind of the whole hierarchy system from E1 through E9, and then 01 through 08.
And as far as officers go, you forgot to mention they're in college. Well, they were in college.
Oh, well, yeah, they have to go to college first. They have to go to college, get your degree for 4 years. Oh, that's what I thought. That's what I was going to say. They had to go to college for 4 years, and that's why whenever they come in to a shop, certain people feel like they are better than officers because they haven't been in the military that long. They just got out of college, really, technically speaking.
All right. As far as staff sergeant and tech sergeant goes, what was your experience when, like, being around them? What was your experience being ordered around by them?
So for a maintenance shop, my experience was pretty chill. My master sergeant, he actually had a good relationship with me.
That's good.
We talked well. It was good. For my tech sergeant, they were cool. That they kind of, for whatever reason, like staff sergeant and tech sergeant kind of gave me more problems, just because like they just got that power. Like you're just becoming to where you can run stuff and kind of talk down on people, kind of like you have that authority, quote unquote. So that's kind of where I got most of my problems from. But overall, they weren't too bad. Officers, I had one officer in my shop, and he was really cool, but he let a lot of things slide that shouldn't slide. But again, it was a maintenance shop, so I don't know if that's just maintainers or not. But.
Right. Well, I do want to say that I know that you said staff sergeant and tech sergeant are like what's causing you the most problems, and it's funny how the research sort of lines up, because NCOs, aka officers who had higher levels of interaction with the actual soldiers, had higher occurrences of abusing their power, and I guess they sort of got that authority and like big bad wolves now. They're like
right.
want to order people around, which I mean, I don't think that's right to do. Even if you just got power, that doesn't mean you have the power to mistreat people just because, again, you just got power.
Right.
I mean, I think you would be a good staff sergeant.
Oh yeah, I'll be a great staff sergeant because it's like there's lines to it. Like you can still enforce your will on everything, like make sure everything goes straight as it needs to, well, a machine. I get it, but that thin line of abusing your power to where now it's not even outside of work, outside of work duties. Let me say that, not outside of work. Outside of work duties, you feel like you can still tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. Hey, go get that.
Wow.
Just because they told you to go get that, but since you're higher rank, you're gonna tell me to go get it. It just trickles down through the system. So they definitely I don't know, it's hit or miss with them. There's some cool staff sergeants because they're, again, just made staff sergeant. They're cool, but tech sergeants, like you said, since they have the most interaction. I only had one officer in my shop, but since they have the most interactions with E1 through E4, whatever, they just feel like they can do whatever, and it's not cool at all. Don't do that. Right. Don't be a bully. That's a bully. Because you're bigger or have bigger rank than them. That makes you a bully.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's kind of without, that's kind of similar, even in real life. Jobs and managers and things like that, just because they have that amount of authority, I guess, Facts. They kind of abuse that power at times. Because I've dealt with so many ugly, ill managers because they're a manager, they think that they can do anything they want. But that's besides the point. That's besides the point. So overall, just thinking about how the hierarchy is formed, what do you think your conclusion would be per se?
That definitely majority of the higher ranking abuse their powers amongst the smaller rankings because, again, they just feel like they can do so because for whatever reason, they feel like they're embarrassing that person, they just feel like they can do whatever to that person just because they have been in the military longer, which, okay, and some people really are coming at the military older than some people that may be a higher ranking, and they still feel like they can do as such. So that's not cool. Then also, if monkey see, monkey do. If another one higher ranking person is abusing their power, is not to say that the next person or the person under them is not going to do the same. They're going to treat other people how they're treated. That's just how the cycle keeps going though. That's literally how the cycle will never break because one person's being told something, being treated one way. So now, since they have people under them that high ranking, then they're going to just go trickle down the line, and then somebody at the bottom that doesn't have anybody to pick on, then I don't know. But that's typically how it goes.
Well, what sort of impact do you think this would have on somebody, on a more long-term basis?
Their mental health. Their mental health. Nah, really though, if you're continuously treated in such a way, you're either going to, like I said, display that onto others, or you're going to hold that in and just drive yourself crazy. You're just gonna, you're just not gonna have an outlet. You're not gonna know what to do until eventually you're just gonna want to end everything that. There's no way around getting bullied. So it's a form of bullying. That's literally what it is. So there's no way of getting around being bullied for a long time and not either feel like you have to retaliate or just cancel everything because you feel like you can't do nothing about it.
Right. I think a lot of people underestimate the impact of what words can actually do, or treatments can actually do, actions can actually do. Because I feel like a lot of the time when it comes to bullying, like you said, it's a continuous cycle of being bullied and then having your social or your self-esteem being impacted, or having your mental health being impacted negatively, and then continuously bullying, and then having your mental health impacted, bullying, and blah 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 blah.
Right.
And then it gets to a point of like, where does this line stop? Where do you draw the line? How does anybody even interfere with that sort of cycle? Because a lot of the time, like for example, in the military, people just go unnoticed as far as like how they're being handled, as far as like their treatment goes.
Right.
And it's like, how do we break this cycle? How do we even stop people from bullying? How do we stop those from being bullied from actually committing suicide or using other means like nicotine or drugs, which nicotine or alcohol, which we're going to touch on later, from just like, how do we stop that?
You know what? I don't think you can. Like, as far as the military system, because, like I said, so since there's this hierarchy, right? You know what? With hierarchy comes responsibility. The higher you go, comes more responsibility, and then with that responsibility, you have that feel or need to be a part of a group, right? Mm-hmm. So now that you're a part of this group and have said responsibility, you're going to do whatever you can in your will to either stay a part of this group or conceal what's going on in this group. Mm-hmm. Saying that to say, once you get to a certain amount of power, like higher power, like nobody can really tell you what to do, and nobody's going to tell on you, because y'all all have this understanding, like you're all in this group. Officer, like higher officer ranking chiefs, and like they can get away with down there whatever, because one, the people around them is not going to tell, because they're either probably doing the same thing, because they're in that same group circle, or they know that if this person does not get convicted of this crime or whatever they have done, it's going to be hell on them, because they're going to come back. You're getting kicked out of the group. Mm-hmm. The whole group's going to tell on you. Like, you're now everything, like, there's just no way to be power, is what I'm saying. So once you have this chain and it's heavier on one side than it is on the other, there's no way the lighter side can bring that down. Right. They have it. The more rank, the more power. That's just it.
And as you said, the more people against you, the less likely you are to even try to gain your power back in that sense. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. You can't really fix that. You can't.
It's tough. That's what I'm saying. Like, they just have a system. It's all a system in place. The military, they know what they're doing. Like, they know what they're doing.
Right. And that being said, I do want to say, as far as like getting away with certain things like drugs and alcohol use and like we're going to be talking about later, as I said beforehand, there is also, we're going to touch on this lightly, we're not going to go fully into it because we don't have a lot of backup for that research as well yet. Look forward to the episode coming out in June, because we are going to do a follow-up series kind of thing in here.
Yeah, there's a lot touched on by the military.
But as far as the relationship between military leadership and the risk of sexual assault, it is very high, because, again, you are able to get away with certain things. And there's definitely a direct correlation between leadership abuse and the risk of sexual assault as well. In fact, 30% of service women experience sexual abuse in the military, and there was a pattern of exchanging sex for privileges or promotions. And just to think about how you are pushed into that spot of having to give away yourself for somebody else, having to give away yourself for rankings and promotions and privileges is crazy to me, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely insane. And like you said, just for promotion, you barely get anything out of promotions anyway. We'll touch on that later, like you said, but like you being promoted, it holds weight, but it kind of doesn't depend on what rank you're becoming. So a lot of people are definitely being used if they're exchanging sex for promotion, because promotions don't really have the same, it doesn't equate the same as, sex,
exactly.
In my opinion.
I
agree.
I mean, all right, with that being said, we are going to move to our last topic, which is alcoholism and nicotine use within the military, which is going to be our biggest topic, which is kind of why we left it at the end. So what do you have to say about that? Because you look like you got something to say.
Ladies, gentlemen, him, hey, there. Everything. Look, any pronoun out there, if I'm missing you, put it in there. But listen to me when I say this. For one, if you're not an alcoholic before you get into the military, you will become one. For two, if you're not a nicotine addict or user, and you don't have to become an addict, you will become one when you join the military. Disclaimer. Boom. Now, saying that to say, again, so let's start with alcohol. Let's start with there. Okay. I'm gonna start with experience first, personal experience, then I'm gonna go ahead. But look, they can vouch for me. Before I went to the military, I didn't really like alcohol. Was so nasty, so disgusting. Still is. Don't get me wrong. Still is. But before I went to the military, didn't care for alcohol at all. Like almost 0%. Got into the military, and when that's all that surrounds you, and that's all you can do, you again will start to almost like to taste alcohol. It doesn't taste too bad. It still tastes nasty, but it's not the worst. It's not the worst. So, my experience coming in the military like that was probably my turnaround on alcohol. Like, it's at every location, every military health function, they have beer, wine, water, soda, but they have beer for sure. Any celebration, ball, they're gonna have wine, something to drink, beer, whatever, alcohol, some form of alcohol. You get off work, a lot of people just drink alcohol, like, just because. Like, you just get in the military, you're 18, don't care. They're gonna turn a blind eye to it, because what? Everybody's drinking alcohol. They say not to do it, but if I'm being 100% honest, everybody still did it, and they still didn't care. Some people provided for others. Not gonna say no names, but alcohol is provided almost at every function, so you will begin to drink alcohol, whether that's seltzers, those count too. Seltzers, beer, wine, everything, all those, all of it counts. You're gonna start drinking it because it's a stress reliever. You come home from, let's say, some people have a 12-hour day. 12-hour day. You come home, you was out in the field maybe, like being told what to do, no breaks. You don't 30-hour lunch, 30-minute break. You get 2 15s. Oh, what are those? Okay, no, you're working the whole time. Like this puts a lot of like stress on a lot of people. Like you have to work your butt off, be told what to do, and do it their way, and still be expected to do this every day. Like you get no days off. Like Saturday, Sunday, whatever, but they can call you in if they want to. Like, let's be real. I had to work on a Saturday before 10 o'clock at night. Like, it doesn't stop. So saying that to say again, like stress, like that's just one to just relieve it. Like you just go home, get off of work, start drinking. Now you're having a good time. Now you forgot all about work until you have to do it the next day. Mm-hmm. And that just starts the cycle. Now there's alcoholism. Now you're addicted. Now you're going to AA. Because what's so crazy is, even though they're so aware of the alcohol use, like they're so aware that they put these programs into place like AA and all that type of stuff to help you, but they caused it. So like it's kind of a back and forth thing, because you're like, you just can't get it. You can't get away from it. Like you go, all right, so if you drinking, you go to AA, boom, you go there. Say you're not strong-willed, because some people actually, once they go to AA, they change whatever. Say you go to AA, you do that, you get your little card, whatever. Boom, now you go back to your shop, your place of work, and everybody around you drinking still. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say no. I don't care who you are. If you have the most discipline in the world, sometimes it will get hard to say no. Peer pressure will sometimes get you. Like, it is bound to happen. So, saying to say, again, alcohol is always around. It's always going to be there. Every function, you're going to end up drinking it. You can't get away from it. Then, alcohol's friend, the one that they always have with the alcohol, is nicotine. Nicotine. Listen to me. Listen. Because because I know some people have seen all the war movies. I'm sure some people probably seen just depictions of the military, whatever. And if they're outside and they're smoking a cigarette, they're in a war, they're smoking a cigarette. Like, cigarettes have been around, nicotine has been around the military for a long time. So now, coming out with mods and vapes, like, it just makes it a lot more easy to, like, pull it out your pocket, hit it real quick, put it up. You don't have to light it. You don't have to sit somewhere where it says no smoking. You could just, like, it has just made it so accessible. And then, again, the fact that a lot of people come to the military are 18 for the most part, or just young. And even though they're just coming out of high school, they still have this responsibility. So they're now grown. Like, in the military, like, regardless of your age, you're grown. You're serving the United States, like, you're grown. So they're going to turn a blind eye to it. Saying that to say, the vapes, the mods, the cigarettes, that it gets passed around too easily to anybody and everybody. If you're 20 years old and you got a friend that's 18, he might give you some money to get it for him. Like, it's just too easy to where it has become too accessible for a lot of younger people, which is susceptible to more addiction. Like, that's just a fact. Like, that, or it's just always around. Like, both of those are always around. Then don't let me get on withdrawals, because if you don't have your vape and you're really addicted to nicotine, now you're like, I don't know, it's like they can't even function without it. Like, a lot of people, like, have, like, I don't know, it's like they get jitter, like they need that, like, and that's no good look for anybody, for your mental health, physical health, anything. Like, it just has caused a whole, you thought the pandemic was bad. Like, if you go into the military, any military setting, and just look around and see how many people have either vapes, mods, cigarettes, or drink alcohol, guarantee you probably 90%. If I'm just throwing out a number.
Right.
90%.
Man. Okay. I see.
Yeah, because it's really like, that is really a problem. Like, that's probably the main problem associated, besides, like, suicide, like, alcohol and nicotine is probably, like, the main problem within the military.
And I definitely can see how it's a cycle of feeling stressed out and going to something, like, even with human behavior in general, when we are upset, we usually go to something, depend on something, rely on something to get you out of that funk. And that can be whether that's positive, like family, friends, other coping mechanisms, healthy coping mechanisms. And then there is other worse ones like alcohol and nicotine, and you think that it makes you feel better in the meantime. Right. I watched so many videos about people with PTSD talking about how that when they're feeling stressed, that they go to alcohol and it makes them feel good for a little bit of amount of time, but after those effects are off, done with or finished, they go back to feeling stressed, and it's like the problem is still there. So right. It's like, okay, well, guess I'll go back to nicotine, go back to alcohol, and the cycle repeats and repeats and repeats. Even veterans, per se, as I was talking about, veterans with PTSD who are diagnosed with substance use were 3 to 4 times more likely to receive PTSD or depression diagnoses, and that is a crazy association. Like 3 to 4 times more likely, just because they deal with so much stress on a daily basis, and especially like with getting called in. Don't even get me started with that.
What? Like, on your off day?
On your off day.
On the weekend? And you're chilling at 10 o'clock at night? Oh, that's tough.
Right. And you never get a break.
Like, even, like, outside, like, even if your contract over, like, if I do 4 years, my 4-year contract, I still technically have 2 more years, like, that they can still call me back to the military. Like, you're never going to stop being associated with the military at all. Like,
And they do not care. Like, they really do not care about your mental health. They don't care about the stress that you're going through. They don't care about how much alcohol use or nicotine use that you're actually participating in. And they just expect you to come to work feeling okay, feeling ready to do the job, when, you know, you have all these demons inside that are that you're struggling with. How can you expect somebody who's going through a mental health crisis or just going through mental health issues in general to come to work and do their best? Like, even with the AA thing, like, how are you going to have alcohol at functions and have AAA or AA at the same time?
Can't. Don't be like stationed somewhere like Montana or just somewhere like even overseas. Like, you have no family like over there, like more dependent on alcohol. Like, you like it's just a lot of factors that comes from the military that can cause you to either drink or stress relief using a vape or nicotine, because it makes you feel calm at the moment.
Especially when there's like overdosing and suicide rates involved in it, it can definitely be such a dangerous habit. And especially just physically, I know alcohol, that liver is not going to be okay.
Facts.
Here are some facts that you guys should know, because this is factual, this is research, this is
facts.
Plain. And of course we have additional research for this episode if you want to check that out. But yeah, so in 2014, veterans made up for 20% of national suicides, with 20 veterans dying by suicide every day. Now 20 is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
In 2016, the suicide rate for veterans was 2.5 times greater than normal civilians. And 70% of homeless veterans, 70% have substance use disorder. So you can definitely see how much of a big role alcoholism and nicotine use actually has within families, within veterans, within just people in the military in general.
Right, and I was gonna say those are veterans. You said veterans.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even talking about active like duty. Like, these are veterans, people that have done it and were supposed to be looked after, like after their service. Like, homeless veterans. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know y'all see a lot of that. Like, veterans. You hear me? Like, people that have like signed like their life away to do whatever they had to do in the military and still got out and were left with nothing. But y'all hold it to such a high standard of being in the military, but like, you don't even know the half of what goes on in it. Like, like, you gotta do your research. You gotta do your research for sure.
Definitely. And there's definitely that conversation that we didn't have today, but of just the military recruiting people who are homeless, who are in a bad place, who are just in need of something, and not even considering just like the negative impacts the military even has. So definitely want to consider that as well. So that being said, do you have any last words before we close out this episode?
Yeah, really just like first of all, let me say this because they told us to say this in the military. Let me say this. These views are from myself and myself only, themselves and their self only.
Yes.
Yeah, this reflects nothing of the Air Force, the military, or how they view any subject that we may have touched on today. These are strictly, again, our views, opinionated views on this topic. That's one. Two, the military. It has its benefits. It has its pros and cons for sure. However, before either you join or speak to somebody that was in the military or knows about the military, just one, be open-minded to what they have to say as far as when they explain the benefits to you, or if they explain how the system really is. So be open-minded to it. And also, again, just do your research. Like, whatever you want to do in the military, make sure you do your research. Make sure you know where your station may be. Make sure you know where your job can or can't go. Yeah, just do your research. There's a lot of things the military will tell you and won't, and that's kind of my ending words on that.
Okay. Well, that being said, let's close out this episode. I think it's been a really good one. But as you said, just keep in mind that it has its pros and cons. If you're thinking about going to the military, do research.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, our closing remarks. Forever Blooming does have a website, foreverbloomingpod.org. Whoa. foreverbloomPod.org. Almost had that wrong. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, all at foreverblooming.org, plus Twitter at foreverbloom.org, and you can find TJ on Instagram at TJPruitt_15. Did you make that when you was 15?
Nope, that was my
really?
basketball number at the time.
Okay. You could have did August 15th for my birthday, but
It was the 15th because it was August. Your birthday.
Okay. The research for this episode is on our website in our podcast section. If you want to be a podcast guest like TJ here, you can definitely check it out on our podcast section. And if you want advice to be featured on our episodes, you can check out our audience spotlight form, which is also in our podcast section. You can email us at management@foreverbloomPod.org. Let us know your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, and how we can improve the podcast, because we love hearing from you. Be sure to check us out at fborg.card.co, and that is card with 2 R's, for all of our easy, accessible links. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, rate us on Spotify, and share with your friends if you enjoyed this episode. And lastly, have a great day, afternoon, or night, whenever you're listening to this. Thanks for tuning in.